talking about the foolproof strategy to your best A1C. Really glad to have you guys joining us today.
Ever in the history of the world. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I don't even remember the last time we did a webinar. It was probably like...
You know what? It was last year.
November 8th.
Oh my God.
A whole year ago. 2018.
It was November 8th. Is that right?
Yeah.
Luckily, my wife can remember dates like no one's business. So it's November 8th, December 8th, January 8th. So we're looking at 2 months ago since we did our last webinar. And here's the deal. Let's be honest. It's 2019. 2019 is the future. Do you remember back in the day in like the 1990s and the 80s when they were like, one day in the future, in 2020, there'll be flying cars, there'll be hoverboards, and you were like, oh, 2020, that's the future, man. I hope to live to that day. Well, guess what? It's a year away. We're there.
We're there.
We're there. We're basically there. And the beauty here is that at the beginning of the year, you have an opportunity to like fully take control of your goals and get to a point where you say, okay, I'm gonna start fresh. I'm gonna wipe whatever happened, and I'm gonna move forward. I'm gonna make it awesome. This is the opportunity right here.
There's a lot of energy around this. There's a lot of people, your friends, your family, they're getting into it as well. There's a lot of camaraderie here. This is the time. This is your chance. We're excited to have you with us tonight. Let us know where you're coming from in the chat box. I'm coming to you from Santa Monica, California.
Ooh, I got Tree from Bali, Indonesia. That's a pretty exotic place. I like this.
Excellent.
We got Andrew, Brenda from Canada, James. What's up, James? PJ, Belinda, Deb from Duluth, MJN. Where is that? Duluth, Minneapolis? Nope. Minnesota?
I think it's Minnesota.
Okay. Hey, it looks like we got a lot of people. We got 275 people in the room already. We're going to probably have a packed house today. So did you put the poll up, Robbie?
Sure did. Let us know what type of diabetes you're living with by voting in the poll. We want to know who's here tonight.
Yep. Okay, it looks like we got almost 50% of you with type 2 diabetes. That's what I like to see. This is great. What's up, William? What's up, Dan? What's up, Deb? What's up, Cynthia? What's up, Thomas?
We got Deb from Duluth, Minnesota. Not that far from St. Cloud, where I grew up.
That's right. Okay. If anybody can beat Bali, Indonesia today, then you win a high five. Okay?
If you're virtual high five.
Virtual high five. If you're from a cooler location than Bali, Indonesia, you let us know. I want to see it. We're not bad. We're not bad.
Yeah.
Does that count?
What about Pleasant Grove, Utah? Sounds quite pleasant.
That's very pleasant. Extremely pleasant. Caitlin from South Africa. It's a strong contender right there. I like it. I like it.
This is too good.
All right. Okay. Ooh, we got another Bali. We got Kuta Bali.
Okay.
Oh, that's Tree. That's still again. Okay. Cool. Tatiana from Greece.
Tree just wanted to re-emphasize that she's in Bali, just to remind us so we didn't forget.
Yeah, just in case you guys didn't. Okay, then we got Carmen from Puerto Rico. Wow, we got some exotic people here. This is great.
You know what I'd like to see tonight, Cyrus, is that we have 18% voting that they are living with type 1 diabetes. It's been a while. We've done a lot of webinars. We're a low number of type 1 percentage, and we're happy to see you guys here joining us. Obviously, we love everybody else as well, but we're both living with type 1. We love talking to our fellow type 1 people.
This is really good, actually, because the A1c is one of the most misunderstood biomarkers in all of diabetes. And especially for people with type 1 diabetes who do everything they can in their power to control their A1c, but in the process end up increasing their risk for chronic disease. We're gonna address that head on today and make sure that both the people with type 1 diabetes as well as those with type 1.5, prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, and those of you who don't have any version of diabetes, I want you guys to really understand that your A1c is important. There's no question about it, but it is not the most important indicator of your health.
That's right.
A lot of detail about that.
You hit it right in the head. We're going to address these issues head on. Lots of confusion, ketogenic diet, plant-based diet, what's low carb diet. There's so much confusion. There's no stone left unturned in this webinar tonight.
Yep. Okay, so we got 300, and we'll call it 340 people here, which is great. Let's see the poll. Let me just re-see the We got 16% with type 1, 10% with prediabetes, 50% of you with type 2 diabetes, and then about 5 to 6% of you with type 1.5. Okay.
10%.
Yep.
Get it started?
Don't have diabetes, 12%. All right, I'm gonna end this. Yes, let's get this party started.
Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Give me just 1 second here.
All right. We have Karen saying she's living with prediabetes. Welcome. Glad to have you here. We have Homero here. All right. Good to see you.
Yes, I love that guy. Homero, my man.
Homero's one of our members in our early coaching program. Great to have you joining us.
Can you see my screen right now?
You can, and I can see you. Everything's looking great.
Fantastic. All right, so today we're going to be talking about the foolproof way to guarantee your best A1c in 2019. Okay, like I was saying earlier, if you just joined us, we are currently in the future. Back in the 90s, we used to talk about 2020 as being the future when there are going to be flying cars and hoverboards. Well, we're about a year away from there. This is the opportunity in front of you right here, right now, to take full control of your health. If you currently don't have full control of diabetes, it's okay. Take a big, deep breath. Robbie and I are here to show you guys how you can get full control. And our entire coaching team, including my wife, Kylie, sitting next to me, plus Adam and Mark, who you get to learn about more, we have an expert coaching staff that's specifically here to help you guys. So as we're going through today's webinar, I really want you guys to think about what is it that you can do? What kind of commitment are you bringing to the table? Because the more you can commit, the more we can help you get there, the higher your chances of success, okay? And a lot of people are always talking about, oh, well, you know, I tried something and I fell off the wagon. I tried it and it didn't work, or, you know, like it was doing it for a while and then my old habits crept in, okay? Our team is specifically designed to make sure that you don't fall off the wagon, okay? We don't want people abandoning a plant-based lifestyle. It's not part of the master plan. So we're here to show you guys exactly how we can help you out the most. In the chat box, before we go any farther, here's what I want to know from you guys. If you are currently having a difficult time, you know, getting full control of your diabetes, okay, write the number 1 in the chat box. That's all I want, just the 1. 1 means I'm having trouble getting control of my lifestyle. If you write the number 2 means I have full control of my diabetes lifestyle. I'm just here because it's fun. Okay. What do you see in the chat box, Robbie?
It's a flood of 1s. I have yet to see a 2.
Ah, okay. That's interesting.
Flood. Yeah. Okay. It's not 1, 2. Okay. We have 1, 2 so far.
Okay. Cool.
A couple 2s flooded in, but we're talking like 90% 1.
90% 1s. Okay. Now, next question I want you guys to answer is, if you can just write down in like 1 sentence or just a couple of words, what is it? What is the trouble? Is the trouble I'm overweight, my blood glucose is too high, my family's not on board, I don't know what to do, I don't exercise enough, I have too much stress, you name it, whatever it is, I want you guys to just write that in the chat box because I want to know what that is. It's very important.
Let's see what's coming in. We got a lot of 1s, but somebody give a 1.5.
1.5, okay.
Okay, we have somebody saying, let's see, what is it? Time planning menu. I got addiction. I like to eat sugar. I don't exercise. I'm stressed. Addicted to eating. Conflicting information. Still crave nuts. Lack of exercise. I'm overweight. I have fatty liver, food addiction. Cannot stay away from refined flour and sugar and fat. Family's not on board.
Okay, Kylie's telling me we got high blood glucose. We got large swings in blood glucose during the day. Okay, all right. I want you guys to just hold on to that thought, okay? As we go through the webinar today, just hold on to that thought. The thing that bothers you the most, the thing that pisses you off the most in the world about your diabetes health, I want you to just really sit there and think about that because there's a way to change that for the better. And the way is actually real simple. And we're here to show you exactly how you can make that unfold in your life. Okay? So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about what your A1C is, what it actually represents from a biological perspective. We'll talk about how your diet affects your A1C level. Okay? And there's many kind of important variables here. We'll talk about how exercise affects your A1C. We'll talk about how low carbohydrate diets actually drop your A1C. Okay, and why your A1C is important, but not really that important. Okay, it's an incomplete indicator of your diabetes health. And then at the end, we're going to teach you how you can reduce your A1C, get literally get the best A1C of your life, and stay that way. And at the same time, gain insulin sensitivity and drop your risk for chronic disease, all chronic disease. Okay, that's the most important thing. At the end of this webinar, we got an awesome bonus for you guys. I think you're really going to like it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Cyrus. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 22, so that's like 16 years ago. I ate a low carbohydrate diet at the very beginning of the very first year of my diagnosis because I didn't know any better. That's what my doctors were telling me to do. I did it. I felt very bad. My blood glucose was all over the place. It was kind of a joke. I lost a lot of desire to really want to improve my health, and I wasn't living a very healthy lifestyle for the better part of a year. When I finally decided to switch over to a plant-based diet based off of some conversations that I had with people and some, an opportunity that was put in front of me that I decided I had to take advantage of. The minute I adopted a plant-based diet, my insulin use started to fall dramatically, very, very quickly. I'm talking about within the first week. I cut my insulin use. I significantly increased my carbohydrate intake. I started to feel like $1,000,000. I've been an athlete my whole life, and I love to move my body. And when my ability to use my body was compromised, that really, really, really bothered me. So switching to a plant-based diet has not only allowed me to use my body as much as I used to before my diagnosis with diabetes, but now I can use my body better and more often than I have ever been able to in my entire life. So I'm older and I'm able to exercise as much as I want right now, and I would not trade that for the world. And here's the best part. My A1C values are consistently in the non-diabetic range, between 5.4 and 5.7. I don't experience very many hypoglycemias, and to be perfectly honest with you, I feel like $1,000,000. I'm a happy camper.
All right. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robbie Barbero, and I've been living with type 1 diabetes for 18 years now and following a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet for 12 years. Now, before I got to a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet, I tried several different approaches. I tried the standard American diet, which I grew up on. I tried a Weston A. Price style lifestyle where I was eating lots of grass-fed beef, raw milk, thinking, oh, I'm doing good things for my body. This is healthy. This is smart. Then I learned that wasn't such a good idea. Then I ended up trying a plant-based ketogenic diet. So more of a Gabriel Cousens approach. And I'm just like Cyrus was talking about how getting a lower A1C, improving your blood glucose control, but then running into problems. We're going to go into the science of that, but I experienced that. So I was at a 24-hour carbohydrate to insulin ratio of 3:1. And then once I switched my diet, my 24-hour ratio was more like 18:1. Mealtime ratios can be 30:1, 40:1, 50:1, depending on the time of day. So insulin sensitivity has improved dramatically on this approach. Now, when I was following the other diets, I was sick. I had plantar fasciitis. I had terrible acne. I wore these big blue boots at night. I was getting sick all the time, even though I was taking allergy medication. It wasn't good. And now on this new diet, this diet that we're going to talk to you about tonight, I don't take any other pharmaceutical medications. I never get sick. I feel amazing. My A1C is amazing, consistently under control. Blood glucose is predictable. I have more energy than ever. I'm heart attack proof. And I just love spreading this message and sharing it with as many people as possible so you know you have an option and you know exactly how to execute it if it's something you want to do. So that's my story, and we'll get into the presentation.
100%. Okay. So for those of you who have thought about your A1C and maybe you've been living with diabetes for some portion of time. Here's what I want to know in the chat box. Tell me what your A1C actually represents. Okay, let's see the answers. Okay, from a biological perspective, your A1C is measuring what?
Okay, that's
Yep. What do you got?
I'm waiting for the first answer to pop up. There's a little bit of delay. So somebody says health. Somebody says RBC glycation.
Nice.
3-month blood glucose average. 90-day sugar average. Let's see. 3-month glucose average blood glucose. 3-month average of blood glucose. Let's see. Not really sure what it means. 3-month average.
Okay. I'm gonna give it to the first response that you saw, which was RBC glycation. So you'll see what that means in a second. Whoever wrote that down, pat yourself on the back. That was legit. Okay. Here's what your A1C actually measures. Okay. You have this stuff called hemoglobin in your blood. Okay. Hemoglobin is a protein that is found inside of red blood cells. You have billions of red blood cells in circulation. Now, red blood cells have one primary responsibility, and that is to trap oxygen and transport oxygen to tissues all throughout your body. Okay, red blood cells are responsible for transporting oxygen to your brain, to your thyroid gland, to your liver, to your kidney, to your heart, to your muscles, to your sexual organs. Okay, these red blood cells are very important. Inside of red blood cells is this stuff called hemoglobin. Think of hemoglobin as basically being it's like a baseball mitt. It's like a baseball mitt, right? So you throw a ball, you catch it, right? Hemoglobin is the same thing. As soon as it finds oxygen, it literally catches oxygen and it traps it and it holds onto it. Okay, so you might be saying, well, what the heck does hemoglobin have to do with diabetes, right? You'll see here, hemoglobin is inside of a red blood cell. Okay, as soon as oxygen comes into this red blood cell, it gets trapped and it gets literally attached to the hemoglobin. And then when a red blood cell gets to its destination tissue, wherever that is, it releases the oxygen and gives it to the tissue. Okay, so think of red blood cells as being trucks that are carrying oxygen inside of your blood. Okay, your hemoglobin A1C, what it actually measures is the amount of glucose that is attached to hemoglobin. All right, so you can see here where it says glucose irreversibly attaches to hemoglobin to form this stuff called glycated hemoglobin, okay? So what that means is that if your glucose value starts to increase in your blood as a result of any number of reasons, when your blood glucose value goes up, then glucose sticks to hemoglobin. And then when you go get your A1C measured, what they're measuring is how much glucose is attached to hemoglobin. And then they express that as a number, and that number indicates what your average blood glucose control is. Now, the reason that people tell you to go get this done every 90 days or sometimes every 120 days is because red blood cells live for approximately 90 to 120 days. Okay, that's their lifespan inside of your blood. And so your hemoglobin A1C is a constantly evolving number as your blood glucose control changes. When you have worse blood glucose control, your A1C goes up. When you have better blood glucose control, your A1C comes down. And getting it measured every 90 to 120 days is a way for you to constantly check and say, how am I doing? Okay? So your A1C is used as a diagnostic marker of your blood glucose average. Now, if your A1C is at a 5.7, between a 5.7 or a 6.4, this right here indicates that you have what's called pre-diabetes, which is the state that occurs just before you advance to type 2 diabetes. So this range between 5.7 and 6.4 is considered pre-diabetes. Beyond 6.4, 6.5 and above, this is considered type 2 diabetes. Okay? As you move further and further to the right, your risk for damage to organs all throughout your body goes up and up and up. Similarly, if you come down beneath 5.7, 5.6 and below, this is what's considered a non-diabetic or a healthy A1C level. So the goal for those of you who are living with type 2 diabetes who are in this range over here on the right-hand side is to start to move down into the pre-diabetes range and then eventually down to the non-diabetic range. excuse me. And then for those of you who are in the pre-diabetic range, we're trying to get you down as well. So ideally what we want people to be doing is minimizing their A1C value, but doing it in a safe manner. And we're going to go into a little bit of detail about what that means. So here's an example. Approximately 5 to 5.6% of hemoglobin molecules are normally what's called glycosylated or have glucose attached to them in a non-diabetic or healthy individual. So here's a depiction of that. You have all these hemoglobin molecules that are shown right here. And of these 20 molecules that are shown right here, one of them has glucose attached to it. So this is approximately 5% of all the hemoglobin in circulation with glucose attached to it. As you develop prediabetes, we're not talking about large increases in the amount of glucose that attaches to this stuff. We're talking about very small increases that can dramatically alter your chronic disease risk. And then as you develop to type 2 diabetes, now we're not adding glucose to 18 of these molecules, we're just adding them to a couple more. So point being is that when you start out here, and then you eventually go to here, and then you eventually go to here, this is where the problem begins. So what we want to do is take it from this state and try and minimize the amount of glucose that's attached to these residues or to these hemoglobin molecules and drop your A1C. Okay? So how does your diet affect your A1C level? Well, it turns out that your diet is the most important way to manipulate your A1C. The food that you put in your mouth is without question the most important variable that controls your A1C level. So if your blood glucose looks like this red line here, you eat a meal, your blood glucose goes super high, and then it comes all the way back down, and then it's variable. This right here indicates that your A1C level is likely going to be quite high, especially if this is happening multiple times per day. Versus the person here in green who has a much more stable blood glucose value, if this is the truth, then their A1C level is likely to be much lower, much more controlled, and therefore they're at a reduced risk for chronic disease. Yeah. There. You want that? No.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, so again, the person in red has a high A1C, the person in green has a low A1C. Now, if you eat foods that are low in fat, that are low in protein, like foods that you see here on the screen, fruits and vegetables, legumes, we're talking about beans, peas, and lentils over here, and then whole grains. If you start to eat a lot of these foods, what ends up happening is that tissues in your body, namely your liver and your muscle, they end up operating and storing the fuel that's most available. So if you're eating mainly low-fat, low-protein foods that are higher in carbohydrate, as a result of having more carbohydrate, there's more free glucose available, and the glucose ends up being used by these tissues. These tissues burn it, they produce energy, and they store it. So tissues end up with more blue and less yellow, meaning more glucose and less fatty acids. Okay, the most important thing that you can remember from that previous slide is that the foods that you saw on the screen were low in fat and low in protein. Okay, keep that in the back of your head. If instead you choose to eat a high fat, high protein diet filled with foods that look like this, they're meat, chicken, fish, dairy products, and eggs. In this situation, you can see that the distribution of fuel inside of your liver and muscle has changed. Now there's more yellow and less blue, indicating that there's more fatty acids and less glucose. And these two tissues are not actually designed to run off of fatty acids. They can and they will, but that's not how they were designed. And so as a result of that, these two tissues have no choice but to switch over to a different fuel because fatty acids are more available. And as a result of that, they're now utilizing and burning and storing more fatty acids than they are glucose. Okay? So the foods that you see on the screen, they're high in fat, they're high in protein. It's the exact opposite of the foods that you saw earlier. Now here's the best part. If you consume foods that are low in fat, and low in protein, you end up with this picture over here on the left-hand side. Okay, again, just think about it this way. Tissues are more dependent on glucose. That's all you got to remember from the picture on the left. Over here, on the right-hand side, tissues are more dependent on fatty acids. In this situation, these tissues become insulin resistant. When they're more dependent on glucose, they're more insulin sensitive. So here's what ends up happening. The foods on the left can promote and help you achieve an A1c value between 5 and 6%. And like we said earlier, we're trying to hit that target of just less than 5.7, maybe 5.4, 5.2, 5.3. And these foods can certainly help you achieve that. So people who eat a low-fat, low-protein diet can end up achieving an A1c between 5 and 6.0. And the best part is that you're eating mainly carbohydrate-rich foods. And these foods contain a super high nutrient density, meaning there's lots of vitamins and minerals and fiber and water and antioxidants. So this is a great scenario to be in because your A1c is controlled, your nutrient density is high, and you're extremely insulin sensitive. On the right-hand side, however, we now have a picture where you're eating more animal-based foods, but here's where things get confusing. Because people who eat more animal-based foods end up with an A1c value that's oftentimes better than the people over here on the left. So you're eating more animal-based foods, they're making you more insulin resistant, but yet your A1c value can be lower. So this is why people oftentimes opt to eat a high-fat diet or a low-carbohydrate diet because they can get a better A1c value. So they're eating foods that are lower in nutrient density, but yet their A1c value is better on a piece of paper. You guys with me right now? If you guys are understanding what I'm saying, just type the word yes in the chat box, okay? This slide right here, if you could just like take a photo with your phone or just like ingrain it in your head, this is something that's very important, okay? High-fat diet often leads to a better A1c value, but that's not the most important point. Okay, sounds like Kylie's telling me we're seeing a lot of yeses in the chat box.
There's a flood of yeses.
Okay, cool. If this is confusing, please write the word no. It's totally fine. Okay, so we're gonna move on. Left-hand side, insulin-sensitive tissues, A1c between 5 and 6. Right-hand side, insulin-resistant tissue, but yet your A1c can be better. It's a problem. So what's the deal with insulin resistance? Well, insulin resistance is the root cause of most chronic diseases. So it's the thing that makes your blood glucose control a pain in the butt. It's the thing that makes your blood glucose control very challenging and can therefore increase your risk for the development of prediabetes and type 2 diabetes and gestational diabetes. It also complicates your life when you're living with type 1 or 1.5 dramatically. But then on top of that, insulin resistance also sets the stage for many other chronic diseases, including, but not limited to, cancer, coronary artery disease, hypertension, atherosclerosis. Okay, these are all cardiovascular conditions. Okay, high cholesterol, fatty liver, polycystic ovarian syndrome, Alzheimer's disease, neuropathy, and then the things that are considered complications of diabetes like blindness, kidney failure, retinopathy, and erectile dysfunction. Okay, every single one of these conditions is rooted in insulin resistance. And when you become insulin sensitive, then your risk for the development of all these conditions that you see here goes down. And that's why we've centered our entire program around trying to understand what insulin resistance is and trying to minimize it, because when you do, then your chronic disease risk goes down dramatically. So low carbohydrate diets, they reduce your A1c. You can get oftentimes a better A1c than you can on a low fat diet, but they make you more insulin resistant. Not good enough. That is a huge, huge, huge problem. Okay, so this is what people in the low carbohydrate / ketogenic world often say. They say, look at me, I just got my A1c tested. It used to be a 7.8. Now it's a 4.7. I'm below the 5.0 threshold. In fact, I have a lower A1c than my mom, and she doesn't even have diabetes, and she never did. Okay, my blood glucose has never been lower. In fact, my blood glucose control is so good, it's between 80 and 90 all day long, every single day. It's almost like I don't have diabetes anymore. Then they'll show you these graphs and say, look, before I adopted a ketogenic diet, this is what my blood glucose looked like. It was all over the place, okay? Remember when I was telling you that I was eating a low carbohydrate diet? Well, my blood glucose happened to look like this at that time. Then people will adopt a low carbohydrate diet and then boom, they get this flat line response, okay? People who adopt a ketogenic diet are not lying. When they tell you that they have a flatline blood glucose, they are absolutely not lying. It is a true statement. Again, low carbohydrate diets make your A1c good. They reduce your blood glucose variation. They make your blood glucose way more controllable. But the problem that most people in the ketogenic world don't understand is that they increase their level of insulin resistance, and that increases their chronic disease risk. So what's the problem? Well, I'll tell you what the problem is. Over the course of the long term, no matter how good your blood glucose control is, no matter how flatline your blood glucose is, no matter how low your A1c value gets, when you eat a low carbohydrate diet, this is what happens to you. And these conditions that you see on the screen right here are bolstered by almost 100 years of evidence-based research. So when you eat a low carbohydrate diet in the long term, you end up with a significantly increased risk for heart disease, hypertension, your LDL cholesterol goes up, your triglycerides go up, and your risk for atherosclerosis goes way up, okay? Your glucose metabolism goes way down, so you become insulin resistant. You literally lose the ability to eat carbohydrates because you are so insulin resistant that the moment you do, your blood glucose goes through the roof. You can end up developing fatty liver disease, and I know that there was somebody in the chat box who typed in that they have fatty liver. You become much more inflamed. So by becoming more inflamed, your risk for cancer goes up dramatically. And that can also significantly antagonize the action of your kidney. And then on top of that, you have all these ancillary problems which develop over time. Weight, you might lose weight to begin with, and then you might gain it all back. Or you might stop losing weight and you can no longer lose weight. A lot of people on ketogenic diets or low carbohydrate diets end up with low energy. They have very, very, very poor digestion, and they end up craving foods, and it can be a real nightmare in the long term. Here's a perfect example. Chris Hertel, he used to be eating a lower carbohydrate diet. He'd been living with type 1 diabetes for 57 years. He adopted a low-fat plant-based whole food diet, just the way that we had described, and after almost 1 year, 11 months later, he lost 76 pounds. He didn't even know that he had 76 pounds to lose. But it started coming off of him relatively quickly, and he started transforming his health from the ground up. His fasting blood glucose was cut in half. His A1c fell to 5.2%. He cut out 20 units of basal insulin per day and 15 units of bolus insulin per day. And here's the best part. He eliminated 12 oral medications. Okay, these are oral medications for high blood pressure, for high cholesterol, for rheumatoid arthritis, which is another autoimmune condition that he was told was uncurable. Well, it no longer exists inside of his body, and he's one of the happiest guys that we've ever seen before. So this form of nutrition is extremely powerful, and this is only possible because Chris maximized his insulin sensitivity. If he decided to eat a low carbohydrate diet, he would, without question, continue to be on most, if not all, of these 12 oral medications. Now, when it comes to exercise, how does that affect your A1c? Well, exercise, you can think of it as being a substitute for insulin. And what I mean by that is that when you perform exercise, tissues are able to uptake glucose for free. Small amounts of glucose can get inside of tissues for free, or for a reduced amount of insulin. So when you exercise, your muscles send out signals that say, I need glucose, put it inside of me, because that's what I need in order to contract and expand. Okay? Your liver also says the same thing. Give me more glucose, give me more glucose. I need it right now so I can protect other tissues against glucose deprivation. So glucose that's floating in your blood then has an opportunity to enter these tissues, and it floods into your muscle and it floods into your liver for free. It doesn't need any insulin in order to get inside. Now, that's during exercise. When you're at rest, okay, insulin becomes more powerful. So small amounts of insulin come to your tissues, to your liver and your muscle, and they say, hey, knock, knock, I got some glucose in the blood. Do you want it? And these tissues respond by saying, oh, absolutely. I definitely want some of this glucose. And so the glucose that is in your blood can enter these tissues for very small amounts of insulin. Right? In the insulin-resistant state, rather than seeing, one triangle here, one triangle here, you'd see 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 triangles that are trying to shout at the tissue saying, hey, I got some glucose, do you want it? So think of insulin as becoming more powerful when you exercise, and as a result of that, glucose can get inside of tissues very easily. So exercise reduces your A1c value because it allows glucose to get inside of tissues without insulin. Okay? That happens during exercise. When you're at rest, small amounts of insulin are capable of moving lots of glucose inside of tissues. And exercise reduces your blood glucose values at all times, both during and after exercise, which means that your overall A1c value comes down dramatically. So on the scale here, if you perform exercise and you commit to exercise, then you're going to start to move to the left like I talked about earlier, and that's a good thing. Now, the consistency of movement is probably the second most powerful insulin sensitizer after your diet. So you adopt a low-fat, plant-based, whole food diet, you've done a really good job. If you consistently move your body, that is the second most powerful insulin sensitizer that human beings have ever discussed or that we've ever discovered. Okay? And when I say consistent, what I mean by that is to try and move your body for approximately 6 days a week for about 30 minutes a day. This does not need to be high intensity exercise. You don't need to be killing yourself. You don't need to be, lying on the floor piled in a pool of sweat unless you really like doing that. Okay? So what I'm referring to is moving your body for approximately 30 minutes per day to a point where it's challenging to move. Okay? You shouldn't be able to pick up the phone and call your friend and talk to them. If somebody were to call you, you were to pick up the phone, you would have a difficult time talking. At the same time, if you tried to sing your favorite Whitney Houston song, it wouldn't work because you're out of breath. I want you to be sweating. I want you to be moving your body. If you do that approximately 30 minutes a day, 6 days a week, now you have yourself a very, very powerful insulin sensitizer. Okay, doesn't have to be high intensity, doesn't have to be long periods of time. And what we do recommend is that you split your exercise between approximately 50% cardiovascular movements, like hiking, biking, walking, jogging, swimming, and things that are that you can sustain for a long period of time, and then approximately 50% resistance movement, and that is movement that requires either small weights or bands or your body weight as resistance. Okay, these are things like push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges, yoga, body weight resistance training, CrossFit, biking with resistance, okay? All types of movements that are challenging that you can't perform for very long periods of time because they're very hard, okay? Lindsay, here's another perfect example. She has type 1 diabetes. She adopted our plant-based diet. She's an active exerciser. She pretty much lives in her exercise clothes all day long. Her A1c dropped from 7.2 to 5.8. Her insulin use got cut by, 25%. She lost almost 20 pounds. She's now pounding carbohydrate-rich foods like they're her job, and her cholesterol's come down dramatically in the process as there's a nice ancillary side benefit. So I've said this before, I'm going to say it over again. Your A1c is an incomplete indicator of your diabetes health. Well, what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean. We're going to get interactive here, okay? Here's a case study of our buddy Jonathan Cavallini that we saw earlier. Remember what he said, my A1c is 4.7, my blood glucose has never been lower, and my blood glucose is between 80 and 90 all day long. This guy's super happy because he feels like he's conquered diabetes. He feels like he doesn't really have diabetes, and he feels like things are going very well for him as long as he continues to eat high-fat, high-protein foods and avoid foods that are carbohydrate rich. So Jonathan adopted some diet. We don't really know what it is. He's just eating foods that has dropped his A1C from 8.4 to 5.3% over the course of 3 months. His body weight also came down. He was 189 pounds to begin with. Now he weighs 163. His BMI fell from being in the obese range, being in the overweight range down to the normal range. Okay, here's the question. This is what I want to know. Is Jonathan insulin sensitive? In the chat box, take a look at the numbers that you see on the board. Okay, he lost 25 pounds. His A1C fell by 3%, and his BMI came down dramatically. Is Jonathan insulin sensitive? Yes or no? What do you guys think?
The first three were no. Maybe yes. No. We're getting a lot of no's and some yeses. So somebody says I don't know.
Okay.
Terry says I need more information.
Okay.
Derek says we don't know yet. John says probably no. Richard said no, he is not.
Okay.
Bob said maybe.
Okay.
Cynthia says I don't know. Linda says yes.
Okay. For those of you who said no, you're almost correct. You could be correct. We don't know. For those of you who said yes, you could be correct. We don't know. For those of you who said either I don't know or we need more information, you guys actually got the answer right. And here's why. Okay, the answer is we don't have enough information because we don't know what Jonathan is eating. We don't know what he's eating, and therefore we cannot evaluate his risk for insulin resistance. Here's what we need to determine in order to truly know if Jonathan is insulin sensitive. We got to go through what's called the insulin resistance checklist, which my wife, Kylie Buckner, helped develop. So you'll see here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 metrics which we're going to evaluate in order to determine whether or not he actually is insulin sensitive or not. And these metrics go by the acronym PLOF. Okay, P stands for pressure, your blood pressure. I stands for ideal body weight, L for lipid panel, A for A1C, and F for fasting blood glucose. We don't know his blood pressure. As a result of not knowing his blood pressure, we may not be able to determine whether or not he's insulin sensitive because people who are insulin resistant generally have a higher blood pressure. In other words, blood pressure, a higher blood pressure is an independent risk factor for the development of type 2 diabetes. So the higher your blood pressure goes, the higher your risk for type 2 diabetes. Jonathan is at his ideal body weight because he fell to 163, so that's a good thing. His lipid panel, we don't know anything about his cholesterol, his LDL, his HDL, or his triglycerides. That's a problem. We know his A1C is low, and we know his fasting blood glucose is low. So we do know some things, but we don't know his lipid panel, we don't know his blood pressure, and without that information, we really can't tell what his level of insulin sensitivity is. And most importantly, we don't know what he's eating. We have no idea, and that's a problem. So if you want to get the insulin resistance checklist, just go to our website or go to Google and type in insulin resistance checklist, and this will pop up. And here you can download this PDF that will enable you to track the PLOF acronym over the course of time. So go ahead and snag that if you want it. MasteringDiabetes.org/insulin resistance checklist. Okay. Tammy is a perfect example of somebody who was in this situation. Tammy had tried many different types of diets. She had lost weight in the past, and she thought she was doing the right thing. But it wasn't until she actually adopted a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet that she ended up losing almost 40 pounds. Her fasting blood glucose came down into the less than 100 range, which is the actual safe range. Her A1C fell to a non-diabetic level. Her cholesterol came down, her LDL cholesterol came down, and she stopped using metformin. This was not possible on any of her previous diets, including a low-carbohydrate diet, even though she thought she was doing the right thing. This is what I'm talking about. Unless you are able to evaluate multiple biomarkers, just having a good A1C is not enough information. Sharon had the same thing happen to her. Her A1C came down. She lost more than 25 pounds. her carbohydrate intake quadrupled or more. Her insulin use came down, and she stopped using an oral medication to treat type 1 diabetes. Okay, you see these things happen over and over and over and over and over again. We can literally do a webinar where I just show you nothing but success stories, but it would get boring after a certain period of time. So here's what I want you guys to just remember from this webinar, okay? Your A1C is important. There's no doubt about it. It's measuring the amount of glucose that's attached to hemoglobin inside of your blood. Your exercise will affect your A1C level. Your diet will affect your A1C level. Adopting a low carbohydrate diet will make your A1C probably the best that you've ever had it. But that's not enough information because it's increasing your risk for insulin resistance and therefore chronic disease. So most importantly, we're going to teach you now how you can reduce your A1C and gain insulin sensitivity at the same time, because that's the holy grail of living with diabetes. If I had to rename, I was actually thinking about renaming this webinar. And what the name that I had come up with was how to get your best A1C in the next 60 days while maximizing your nutrient density and minimizing your risk for heart disease and cancer and chronic kidney disease and hypertension and high cholesterol, Alzheimer's disease and digestive inflammation and low energy and frustration. So I think we're going to do that on the next webinar. I think it's catchy, right? Yeah. It kind of rolls off your tongue nicely.
Very catchy.
You know, if we were being truly descriptive in our language, this is what the actual webinar title would be. Because again, when you are able to minimize insulin resistance in your body and maximize insulin sensitivity, then your risk for all these ancillary chronic diseases goes way down. This is actually what happens inside of your body. And this is what we want to show you guys is possible.
Okay. So if you're with us and you want to learn how to do this, okay, you want to learn how we've helped more than 2,500 people reduce their A1C and gain insulin sensitivity and reduce the risk of all those chronic diseases, let us know in the chat box. Want to make sure you're still with us. So type yes if you want to learn how to do it. All right.
I want to know. Can I type yes in the chat box?
Okay, we have one person that wants to know. That's good. We're off to a good start. Let's see what we got in the chat box. Derek says yes. Douglas says yes. Shirley, Dan, Charlotte, Brenda, Jane, Jeff, Vicky, Jeb, Brian, Robert. Okay, a lot of yeses. So let's do it.
That's what I like to see.
All right. So we have developed the Mastering Diabetes program. It's the world's first online coaching program designed to teach you how to maximize your insulin sensitivity using low-fat, plant-based, whole food nutrition. All right. Now, what do you eat on this program? You eat colorful, vibrant, tasty foods. These are these exact foods that people have been that live with diabetes are told not to eat, that these foods make your condition worse. These are the foods that cause you to have high blood glucose. This is why you have diabetes. We're actually telling you the exact opposite. You just saw Cyrus talk about the science. So that's what you get to eat on the Mastering Diabetes program: colorful, vibrant, high carbohydrate foods. All right. So we've made this very simple. We have put the foods into a green light, yellow light, red light system. The green light category, that's full of foods you can actually eat as much as you want. You do not need to limit your consumption of fruits, starchy vegetables, beans, lentils, and peas, intact whole grains. Those four categories right there, those are very high carbohydrate, low fat foods that we are telling you to build your meals around. Okay, it's actually important that you eat more of those foods for your success. Eat more, weigh less, get a better A1C, become more insulin sensitive. That's what our program is built around. And then, of course, we also have non-starchy vegetables, leafy greens, herbs and spices. And the non-starchy vegetables include mushrooms, which are a great food to eat, again, in abundance. That's the green light category. Now, the yellow light category, these are foods. They're still great. They're healthy. They're nutrient dense. But we want you to be careful with these, particularly because there's many foods that are a little bit higher in fat here. So nuts, seeds, avocados, coconuts, olives, all whole plant foods, very healthy, delicious, definitely part of our program, but they're all very high in fat. So even too much of a plant-based fats can lead to insulin resistance. Now we have pastas and breads in here. The pastas, again, there's good pastas out there. Brown rice pasta, quinoa pasta, lentil pasta, bean pastas, all these new pastas, and they're made out of clean, whole ingredients, but they're processed just a little bit more than their whole counterparts, but they're still good. So, and they're also cooked with water, and then the food absorbs the water and the calorie density gets close to the actual original food. So those are in the yellow light category. Enjoy those. Breads, again, these are good. There's very clean, healthy breads out there, but they're a little bit more calorie dense, and they can help your weight loss goals if you're trying to lose weight. All right. Now, the red light foods. These are foods we suggest you steer clear from. All right. These foods, dairy products, eggs, red and white meat, fish and shellfish, all these animal flesh, okay, they consist of trans fat, saturated fat, leucine, heme iron, sodium, nitrites, advanced glycation end products. These are all compounds that are found in animal products that lead to insulin resistance. All right. That's in the red light category. You don't want to eat those. The green light category is full of foods that have none of that, nothing but things that benefit your health. Refined sugars, pastries and breads, everybody knows those aren't good. We just make it clear here and put them in the red light category. All right, so that's the simple system. Now, you saw pictures of what do these meals look like? What are they comprised of? I mean, we're talking about soups, we're talking about stews, we're talking about sweet potatoes with beans inside. Look at these fruit salads, acai bowls. It's delicious, delicious stuff that people with diabetes have been told you cannot eat, and that is not true. Got more colorful fruit salads here. Got some banana ice cream on the screen, which is one of my favorite things to eat. You got vegetables, and these things come to life when you get rid of the processed foods, and everything tastes amazing. All right. So those are the foods we have. Now, when it comes to how the actual program works, what does our coaching platform look like? What does it involve? Let's go into detail here. So we break it up into 3 different tools, 3 powerful tools. The first tool is an online course. We'll go into detail there. Then we have our private community, and then we have twice monthly live Q&A calls. Now, the online course is designed to help you transition. I saw somebody in the comment box asking, what's it like to transition to this? And we know it's confusing. We know it's scary, especially if you're already eating a low carb diet. You're scared. Like I've tried a banana. I've tried some of those things you guys say, and my blood glucose skyrockets. We know it's confusing, but that's where we've developed this system to follow in a step-by-step manner. You just make one change at a time, so it's not overwhelming. We have laid down into different lessons. You change one meal at a time, and then we also intersperse these nuanced details that only people living with diabetes would know how to teach in detail. That's what the decision tree is about, intermittent fasting, how that can help people using insulin manage their basal rate, how to exercise and not go low and not go high. There's a lot of details there. It's all in the online course. Social situations, food buying tips, again, designed to go one step at a time because we are all about setting you up for long-term success. All right, so that's the online course. Now, we also have a vibrant community. All right, these are your new best friends, and this is where you're going to work with our coaches on a day-by-day basis as frequently as you need to communicate with the group. We are there for you. All right, so in the group, here's our coaches. So this is the best part. Our coaching staff is the best, just the best ever. I'm just going to go out there and say it. It's true. Okay. So Cyrus and I, of course, we're helping out. We have a lot of experience here, but then we have Kylie Buckner, who you heard earlier. She created the Pilaf, which is amazing. You got to check that out. And she also has 20 years of nursing experience. So her knowledge of nursing and just the overall human physiology is priceless when helping you transition and helping you make good decisions. We have Adam Sudd, Mark Ramirez. Both of these guys have reversed type 2 diabetes themselves. Adam Sudd has lost over 200 pounds. He reversed erectile dysfunction. He was taking metformin and Genument, both diabetes medications, completely gone. He stopped taking sleeping pills. He stopped taking depression medications, ADHD, bipolar medications for high blood pressure. And the guy is living his best life ever now. And he's here sharing how he did it, giving tips, sharing how to succeed on a daily basis in our coaching program. Mark Ramirez, another amazing story. reversed erectile dysfunction, stopped taking cholesterol medications, hypertension medications. He was using 3 diabetes medications, Lantus, metformin, Januvia, all gone. He's lost 50 pounds. He's been doing this for a long time. He has a lot of experience. He's a great asset in our coaching program. So when we're giving results, we're all speaking from experience here. And that's what makes our program unique. So how does it work? If you ever have a question, you simply just go and post it either on Facebook or inside the online course. If you're not a Facebook user, no problem. We still got you right here with this online course where you can add a comment and you will get an answer within 24 hours. We have set it up where the team is on the ball looking at everything that's going on in the groups. Every 24 hours, we're there with you every step of the way. All right? You're never going to be left hanging. Why is my blood glucose high? How do I talk to my doctor? What do I do in this situation? How do I eat at this restaurant? I got a wedding. You're going to hear from the coaches, and you're also going to hear from the community. So seeing other people who've been through this transition is priceless. All right? And so you just saw the screenshot on the screen. This is the type of stuff we see. Success is contagious. When you see people succeeding and getting results and it's working, you're like, man, I can do this too. I can do this too. That's inspiring. And that's what you get in a community of like-minded people who are focused, who are committed. It's really, really beneficial. So that is the second tool. Now, the third tool that we provide is we do twice monthly live Q&A calls. Oh, I got some more success stories here on the screen. Look at this. All right. We get this, like Cyrus was saying, we could do an entire webinar of just success story after success story after success story. We have, a Slack thread of where our team communicates, and every single day, there's something new coming. Oh, wow. I just saw my first ever double-digit number. I've never seen anything below 3 digits. And it's happening on a regular basis. So it's really fun. Now, back to the twice monthly video conferences. So these are fun. This is where you get to see us and we get to see you. So you come in here. If you want to turn on your video, turn it on. If you don't, you can just call in with your phone. That's fine too. But we answer questions live in person about everything that's going on as you're making this transition. Any question you have about the program, your blood glucose, we're going to be able to give you advice. And, we're not doctors. We don't change medications, but we can help you share what we've seen in other people. We can help you learn how to talk to your doctor. We can help you find a plant-based doctor. We have a lot of connections on that front. So that's what the calls are for. And again, you can ask any of these questions you see on the screen, anything that comes up about your transition, your diabetes health, we are there to support you. This happens twice a month, the first and third Sunday. Cyrus and I are there, and it's one of the best days of the month for us when we get to do those calls. And honestly, the other great part about these calls is on every call, there's people just saying, hey, I just wanted to say thank you. They just pop in and just say, you know what, I've never felt this great. My A1c is, I didn't think this was going to work, but I gave it a shot and here I am. Like, thank you guys, appreciate it. So that happens every time. And it's great for us to hear it, but it's also great for you to see this is working. So what does this cost? All right. So this program, it's like, I just said how amazing it was. You're probably thinking, oh, maybe it's, $10,000 or something. Well, it's worth a lot more than that, but we don't charge you that. The online course itself is $1,200. We got recipes in there, so much information, so many tools. Things are added all the time. The Facebook community, the teachable community where we're answering questions within 24 hours. I mean, that's priceless, but we'll put it at $1,000. When you want to include the content we're adding, the recipes, the challenges we do, put that at $1,500. Then when you include that we're doing the live calls twice a month, you're getting attention from us and our coaches, put that at $1,200. You add this up, this should be a very, very expensive program. But the good news is we are not going to charge you that much. And we actually have a very, very special deal tonight for you guys who are on this webinar. So what you're going to get tonight, there's several things that are happening. The first thing is that if you sign up because you're on this webinar, you will get our 2017 and 2018 online summit. So these are interviews with the world's leading experts in diabetes and beyond. All right. These interviews are life-changing. So many people have told us. There was one man who I never met him. I just saw him. We never heard from him. And I saw him at a fair. It was like a veg fest type of thing. He just walks up and says, you know what? My doctor told me I needed to get 6 bypasses. And I ended up stumbling across your summit, and I didn't get any bypasses. I've reversed my type 2 diabetes. I'm taking no insulin, and I'm feeling amazing. And just watch the summit. I mean, there's so much good information here. It's amazing. So you get that for free as a bonus for signing up to the coaching program. Now, the next thing that we have going on here is that you have the opportunity to sign up immediately. Okay. So we've had a wait list for a long time now, and we are ready to accept more people. All right. So that is been lifted because of this webinar. So we just announced that the wait list is open. You can join the coaching program immediately and get started. You do not have to wait. And we are also giving you the opportunity to, we've talked about this in the past, that we are going to raise the price, and that is happening on Wednesday. Okay. So you have an opportunity to lock in our least expensive price ever, $249 for an entire year. Okay. And we make it a year because we want people who are interested in long-term success. This is not just a quick fix. Let me get in, get the information, get out. We know that's not the way it works. We've been through this so many years of working with people. The long-term commitment is essential, and it's worth every penny. So you can sign up for $249 for the entire year. I pay my doctor. I mean, my insurance covers part of it, but my 15-minute appointment with my doctor is more than $400. Okay. And my doctor's not communicating with me every single day, not teaching me how I can reduce my chronic disease risk, not giving me recipes, not giving me support, not talking to me on a live Q&A call, nothing. I mean, what we're offering here, I mean, you literally can save this money in copays for a majority of people who are using diabetes medications and beyond, any medication. It's really, the value is incredible. Really proud. And so, again, we're go ahead, Cyrus.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much you pay $400 for a 15-minute appointment?
That's right. That's right. My endocrinologist.
I don't understand how the medical system can get away charging those types of prices. I mean, I think most people, yourself included, don't necessarily have a choice, but wow, that's just mind blowing to me. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So we'd love to have you join us. This is an opportunity. It's a new year. It's time to commit. It's time to make that choice that you are going to get your best A1c in 2019, and you're going to keep it there. You're going to keep it there for the long term. That was the whole point of this webinar, the Foolproof strategy, which we just went over, and how not to stay off the wagon. A big part of that is having a community, having a team, and committing to that.
One thing that I want to also stress here is that part of the ethos of the Mastering Diabetes team and the Mastering Diabetes program is that we want to help you improve your health in the short term. Of course we do. I want you to feel better tomorrow than you feel today. I want you to feel better next week than you do today. No question about that. But I also want you to feel better 5 years from now. I also want to make sure that your risk for the development of hypertension and atherosclerosis goes down over the course of time and doesn't go up. And that's not the truth about a lot of these other sort of quick fix programs that you'll see on the internet. Whether it's Jenny Craig, whether it's Weight Watchers, whether it's a ketogenic program that guarantees that your A1c is going to fall beneath 5.0, they're not guaranteeing that your long-term health is also taken into account. So we've designed our system such that we can provide you with what's necessary to help you change your habits today such that you develop a sustainable lifestyle that's going to benefit you today and 10 years into the future. And that's something that if you're in a position right now where you're concerned about your health today, I don't want you to be concerned about your health tomorrow. I don't want you to be concerned about your health 10 years into the future. And the system that we've created has been providing such incredible benefits for people over the course of multiple years. And the research also shows that over the course of time, it actually adds years to your life. This is the system that is in front of you that we would love for you to fully join and commit to, because like Robbie said, once you come inside of our program, we're here to hold your hand the entire way. Your doctor doesn't hold your hand. I hate to break it to you, right? Maybe yours does. I don't know, but we're here to be with you the entire time.
And I want to add to that we love being there with you. Like, the more you ask us questions, the happier we get. We want to support you. Like, I always tell people, when you're joining and you're going to choose to work with us, the only thing that we ask of you, the one thing, is the willingness to communicate. If you have that one thing, we can help you, and I can just about guarantee you're going to see improvement. It doesn't matter. I don't care how much you struggle, how much you fail, how many times things went wrong. If you're willing to say, here's how I struggled, here's where I went wrong, we will find ways to incrementally move you along and make long-term changes. And it's just small things, and it's just consistently building them. So as long as you're willing to communicate, I promise you this will work. And again, it's a safe community. You know, we all struggle. Like, when Cyrus and I first made lifestyle change, it just didn't like immediately happen overnight. I remember coming home from when I was in high school, I started to try and change my diet. And I would drive home from high school and I would tell myself, okay, today I am not going to stop at the grocery store and go get the free cookies. There was this little bar by the bakery where you could get these free cookies. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And over again, I did it. Like, I struggled, but it took time, and I started making that commitment. I'm going to make lifestyle change, and over time, it becomes easier. So, like Cyrus said, we're there to hold your hand. We want to hold your hand, and we want nothing more than you to get the outcome you're looking for.
100%. I could not agree with you more. So, Robbie, let's go to Q&A, because there's a lot of good questions here.
Let's do it.
Okay, I just got to figure out how to switch over.
I'm a slim diabetic. My sugar goes up when I eat fruit. Okay. Well, let's see. That person's name is VC. Now, we'd like to know a little more information. Have you been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, type 1.5, type 2? We've seen a lot of cases. I'm just going to make some assumptions here. We've seen a lot of cases where people came into our program. They were told they were type 2. They start doing the program. They actually did it very well. And they didn't see the results they're looking for. Like, what's going on? We asked them to go get a C-peptide test and an antibody test, and we find out, wait a minute, you're not producing sufficient quantity of insulin. So I don't know if that's the case for this person or not, but that does happen to people. And if you're not producing sufficient quantity of insulin, it's not the food's fault that you are seeing high blood glucose readings. It's simply an insulin deficiency, and taking insulin is not the enemy. We have published several success stories on this. You end up feeling a lot better if that's necessary.
We just got a comment here. This is awesome. This is a comment left by Michael. Michael says, Cyrus, Robbie, I found you guys totally by accident. You have literally saved my life. I used to shoot over 400 units of insulin the day before I started this program, and my glucose was still in the 200 range. I was trying to go into ketosis. Now I know why that wasn't working. It's been nearly 6 weeks now, and I feel awesome, and my numbers and insulin usage are coming down quickly.
I love that.
I tell you, man, when I read this stuff, I get goosebumps. I really do. Michael, I'm so happy for you. This is awesome. This is literally why our team gets up in the morning. This is literally why. So I'm sending you a giant high five right now. I'm very happy to hear this. This is fantastic.
Awesome.
So Celeste says, why do my sugar levels go up sometimes when I exercise? Am I not exercising long enough? Okay. Before I answer that question, I'm a stickler for verbiage. I would like all of you guys to try and start to change your verbiage. We're not talking about sugar. It's not about blood sugar. It's about blood glucose. Okay, there's a very, very, very important distinction here. When you measure your blood glucose, you're actually measuring glucose in your blood. It's not about sugar. Sugar is what you find in the grocery store that comes in a package. It's a white crystal. That is stuff that is going to increase your disease risk. So the correct question here is, why does my glucose go up when I exercise? And the answer is because there's a number of different reasons. If you're exercising at very high intensity, your adrenal gland will stimulate the production of adrenaline, and adrenaline itself can cause your blood glucose to go up. Okay, that usually happens at high intensity. It can also happen at medium intensity as well. That's one reason. There's a lot of people who exercise and they find their glucose does go up, and that's kind of frustrating because you think to yourself, well, you told me it was supposed to go down. Why is it going up? It doesn't make any sense. One thing I will tell you is that even if your blood glucose does go up as a result of exercise, don't stop exercising. That's okay, because a temporary elevation in your blood glucose that then comes down is insignificant in comparison to the benefit that you get from moving your body and from exercising. So if you're concerned about it, I would say don't worry about it. I don't know what type of diabetes you're living with. Is it type 1? Is it type 2? Please, if you're still here, put that into the chat box. But if you're living with type 1 diabetes, a simple way to manage that is to try and adjust your basal insulin strategy such that your blood glucose comes down a little bit. If you're living with type 2 diabetes and you're not insulin dependent, then what I would say, like I said earlier, don't worry about it. It's not important because it's insignificant in comparison to the bird's eye view, which is that exercise is way more powerful. And over the course of time, as you become more and more and more consistent, your blood glucose is likely to not get elevated, and that's going to improve your overall health.
Okay. So I believe she said it's type 1. And just want to add to that, look, you're here, we want to help you as much as we can. Let us know what time of day you're experiencing this. Because Cyrus might have covered this already or not. I don't know. I was looking at comments on my phone. But a lot of times what happens to people living with type 1 diabetes is they'll wake up in the morning and they'll say, you know what, first thing in the morning, I'm going to do my exercise. I'm going to get it out of the way. And they see their blood glucose go up. And they're like, why? It shouldn't be doing this. And a lot of times it's because you're in a fast-acting insulin drought. So if you haven't injected any fast-acting insulin early in the morning, you might see your blood glucose just go up and up and up. And a simple solution is to inject a small amount of insulin, either just to treat the dawn phenomenon, or to have a snack and inject a small amount of fast-acting insulin, and then that can prevent the blood glucose going up after exercising in the morning. So you're here, so let us know. We'll follow up on that if you write in the chat box. All right.
Judy, I'm afraid that this takes too long to accomplish. This is a great one. Judy, first of all, thank you for saying that. Thank you for admitting that it might be intimidating to think about changing your lifestyle, especially over the course of time. Let me tell you a story. I remember when I was first living with type 1 diabetes. I was 22 years old. I was eating a low carbohydrate diet, and like I said earlier, I felt terrible. I couldn't move my body as much. I was inflamed. My blood glucose was all over the place, and I became very anxious and depressed. I actually started going to a psychiatrist because I thought something was wrong with me mentally, and that I was like, I didn't know what the solution was. In my head, I had painted a really large wall that I was standing in front of. And I thought to myself, well, how am I going to improve my blood glucose and reduce my anxiety and reduce my depression and start to use my body more often and get more control over my life and drop my heart disease risk and so on and so forth. And so this wall that I was looking at was just like super high. And then I changed my diet. I had an opportunity to adopt a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet. I went to a retreat and I started eating fruits and vegetables, literally nothing but fruits and vegetables. And I got rid of all the animal products in my diet overnight because I was willing to make a very quick change. So I was willing to make the quick change, which I'm actually not suggesting for you, but hear me out. I made a quick change. And as a result of that, my blood glucose came down fast within 24 hours. My insulin use came down fast. I became more hydrated. I was able to exercise more. My aches and pains went down. I started to feel better mentally. My digestion improved, so on and so forth. All of a sudden, this really big wall that I was looking at wasn't so big anymore. It started to get small real quickly. And before I knew it, I was like, you know what? The wall is gone. It doesn't even exist anymore. And the reason for that is because I started to see positive change, and it came very quickly. So that's my long-winded way of saying it may seem as though you're standing in front of a really large wall or that there's a big mountain in front of you and it's going to take a gargantuan effort to get over that mountain. But I can guarantee you and I can assure you that when you are taking the process one step at a time, literally changing one meal at a time, that's it, bite-sized pieces, and you're doing it in the community of other people that are going through this process with you, and you're doing it under the guidance of expert coaches, such as Robbie, such as Kylie, such as Mark, such as Adam, okay? You're doing it literally under supervision. The wall starts to become much less intimidating. And over the course of a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, before you start before you can even think about things, you might think to yourself, wow, I really do feel better. And I'm starting to see some improvement. And then before you know it, the process starts to become much more easy and, quite honestly, much more fun.
Absolutely. I can't second all that enough. I mean, it's just like, and people are shocked, Cyrus, about this, how much impact small changes can make.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Why don't you go ahead and talk to him about what Dr. Gibson does real quick? Just give him a little summary of and the results he sees.
Okay, so Dr. Gibson, he works in Shreveport, Louisiana. He is a diabetologist. He teaches people how to adopt a plant-based diet. He works with a low-income community. And a lot of these people, they don't have the educations, they don't have the access to, really high-quality fruits and vegetables like most other people do in the country. So he literally tells them, he says, here's what I want you to do. I want you to eat an apple, an orange, and a banana. I want you to walk for 30 minutes a day. I want you to eat one salad, and I want you to eat one plate of beans. That's it. Apple, orange, banana, salad, serving of beans, and I want you to walk for 30 minutes a day. People go, I can do that. I can eat an apple, orange, and banana, salad, plate of beans, and walk for 30 minutes a day. Boom, they do, and all of a sudden, A1Cs drop from 12.5 down to 7, 13.5 down to 5, and it happens real quickly, right? It's not complicated.
It's not complicated.
The question is, are you going to do it consistently? That's the trick, and that's what we're here to help you out.
Absolutely. Okay, so we'll get on to I'll go on to the next question here in a second. But looks like the woman we were talking about earlier, I don't know if we're pronouncing her name right. I think it's Celise. Anyways, she did say it was what we speculated, Cyrus. It was she's in a running club. She runs in the morning, and that's when she sees the high blood glucose. So this is easily fixable by having a snack, injecting the proper amount of fast-acting insulin, and you can completely solve this problem. To go even a little further, filling out decision trees can give you a lot more insight, a lot more knowledge, and sort of adjust. You learn how to adjust based on the intensity of the run, the duration of the run. And when you collect that data, you can make really good decisions. So that's a huge aspect of our coaching program, and then helping you do that. So hope that's helpful. Lynn is asking, how long does it take for blood glucose levels to stabilize on a low-fat, plant-based whole food diet? Initially, my blood glucose levels are so high, and I'm waiting for it to normalize. So I saw somebody in the group, right? Oh, it just took me 5 days. So it's going to vary from person to person. And this is exactly why we created the coaching program. So we can help you troubleshoot anything that's going on. And that's where the day-to-day support, as long as you're willing to communicate with us, we're going to help you. So it's going to change. It can happen in days. And sometimes, there are cases where, people may make those small changes. And in the very beginning, maybe they do see a little bit of an elevation. It's like, okay, we're going to work with you to say, how can we make the small change even a little bit better? Or maybe just a little bit more. And let's see what happens. And remember, we're taking a long-term view here. This is about fixing your health for the rest of your life. You've had high blood glucose for how many years prior? If there's a little bit of higher blood glucose in the first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it's not that big of a deal. So we're always going to remind you to look at the bigger picture.
100%. Robbie, Charlotte asked a question. She says, what is the transition like to becoming a high-carb, low-fat, eater? Can you give Charlotte and the rest of the people in the room just a little bit of an idea of how the transition actually works?
Well, first off, it's the most fun thing ever. I'll tell you that. You get to start eating all these delicious foods. And really the way it works for us is changing one meal at a time. That's it. So we start with breakfast. That's the logical place to start. And again, we're going to help customize the breakfast to you, to your lifestyle, to what you prefer to eat, to what you have access to, maybe your family situation, what they like to eat. We're going to cater the whole thing, one meal at a time, but we're going to start with breakfast based on how much insulin resistance you're starting out with, what type of medications you're using. And once you feel like you've mastered breakfast, you got that under control, then we move on to lunch. And then there's no rush. There's no hurry. You take your time, and we just do it one meal at a time, one day at a time. And we have a lot of fun. I mean, Kylie was reminding me earlier today of just how much fun they have in the Facebook group and in the online course. They do intermittent fast together. You know, there's a whole day where they're all going to do it together and communicate. And so it's really fun. It's really fun. We want to remind you guys to have fun in this process, and you get to eat new foods. I mean, behind me, you can see papayas, mangoes, apples, oranges, bananas. You get to enjoy these foods, and it's enjoyable.
Robbie.
Yeah.
There was a question. The question was very, very good question. It says, hey guys, when is your book coming out?
I like that question.
That's our favorite question. I don't know who squealed that we're writing a book, but you heard it from us. Don't tell people. We're writing a book. We actually
tell everybody.
It's not a secret anymore. Tell whoever you want to tell. The Mastering Diabetes book is going to be coming out exactly a year from now. Okay, and I know that may seem like a long time to wait, and trust me, we also feel the same way. However, we're putting every single last ounce of effort we possibly have into this book, and we are trying our best to create a masterpiece. So if you're excited about getting your hands on the Mastering Diabetes book, then I am excited about you being excited. And yeah, if you can hold on till January of next year, I guarantee you're going to like it. It's a fun book.
But in the meantime, come join us in the coaching program. We'll teach you everything. We'll give you all the answers to your questions.
Okay, so here's the next question. Michael says, does a raw vegan lifestyle work better than cooked and or a combo lifestyle, or does it not really matter? Okay, so this is a great question. Some people choose to eat 100% raw diet. Robbie eats 100% raw diet. I ate 100% raw diet for 14 years, and I put small amounts of cooked food in my diet just because I want to. And then some people choose that they want to eat mainly cooked foods. Like my wife, Kylie, she happens to eat, I don't know, maybe like 50, 60, 70% cooked food. Is that right? Maybe 50%? 50%? Okay. So it's totally up to your preference, right? I used to believe that eating a raw diet was almost like the only real way to do it. And that if you ate a cooked food diet, even if it was low-fat, plant-based, that it wasn't good enough. But I was wrong. I was flat out wrong. We have so many people that eat a cooked diet, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% cooked food diet, and they still get incredible results. Incredible results like weight loss, reduced A1c value, reduced insulin dependence, reduced oral medication dependence, reduce statin medication use, reduce blood pressure, reduce cholesterol levels, and the list goes on. So what I would say is that if you feel as though, let's just say as an example, you're eating 50% cooked food, and you believe that maybe you'll feel better if you eat more raw food, just do an experiment. Just do a 7-day long experiment and go eating 80% raw food and see if that actually changes the way that you feel. Does it change your blood glucose values? Does it change your energy levels? If it does, then go for it. If it doesn't, then it's totally up to you. There's a lot of individuality, that's cooked into this whole process, pun intended. Point being, if you just do a quick experiment the last 7 days, you'll have more information, and then you can answer that question for yourself.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that the Mastering Diabetes program is 100% evidence-based program. So if you want to look at the longest lived societies on the planet, the most successful, people, Okinawa, there's a study on centenarians in China, people in the Tarahumara Indians in Mexico, like all these people, long-term health, very little to chronic disease, almost no diabetes. They were eating lots of cooked food, actually mostly cooked food. So like Cyrus said, it's totally personal. It's up to you. Any specific goal you have, maybe there might be a certain situation where you'll benefit from more fruit versus starch in any given situation. In some situations, you might benefit from more starch than fruit. So it's always customizable, and that's why we have a coaching program.
100%.
What else we got here? Okay. I struggle with exercise because I always end up dropping afterwards. And so I used to go high before so I wouldn't drop. I need help with managing my insulin and exercise. I am type 1. Okay, Annalise, perfect. I would love hearing this question because yes, you can solve this. And really, the answer is it comes down to using decision trees. It comes down to collecting data, being consistent, and understanding your ratios at different times of the month. For women, you have to factor in your menstrual cycle, which that can be an aspect of why you might be going low when you don't want to go low, shouldn't be going low. Decision trees will help you analyze those and help you solve that problem. No questions asked. Sonia asks, what will happen if I eat fruit for a week? If you ate just fruit for a week? For most people, they would see some incredible benefits. In most cases, if you're coming in and you're very, very insulin resistant, you still could do that, but we will help you incorporate things like leafy greens and non-starchy vegetables that could help, with a potential spike and really flatten out the line if you want that. But again, it depends on where you're coming from. Eating fruit for a week it's great. Could be a nice little cleanse. We don't recommend just fruit. We don't recommend fruitarianism or anything like that. Greens and non-starchy vegetables are very important in somebody's diet. So a week of fruit, it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%. There's also a couple of questions here about our retreat because we have held, I think, 6 retreats up to this point. And some people were saying, hey, when's your next retreat? So we haven't actually announced this to the outside world, but since you guys are part of the inner circle now, we will tell you. So we have another retreat coming up here in Costa Rica. Wink, wink, it's paradise. This place is awesome. And the dates of the retreat are May 16th to May 20th. So if you are interested in coming to a retreat, if you want to come spend some time in paradise, if you want to hang out with Robbie and myself and Kylie and Adam and Mark and the whole Mastering Diabetes team, and my kittens. You want to see? There we go. That's Blue. Say hi, Blue. You can also hang out with our cats. It's May 16th to 20th, and we'll be announcing it real soon, so hopefully you can look out.
Send us an email. Like if you're like, all right, guys, I'm telling you, this is going to sell out. So the center only has a certain capacity. Honestly, our audience has grown. There's a lot of interest has grown. This will sell out. There are limited spots. So like Cyrus said, you guys are kind of on the inner circle right now. We haven't even told this to our members, which we probably should now go tell them right away so they have an opportunity to secure a spot. But if you're seriously interested, if those dates work for you and you think you can make that work, send us an email, team@masteringdiabetes.org, and we can see what we can do to make sure that you're secured.
Okay, I got a long question from Tim here, so I'm going to try and read this one. Okay, I'm only 130 pounds, living with type 1 brittle type 1 diabetes with insulin antibodies, hyperthyroidism, fatty liver disease, gastroparesis, and was diagnosed 10 years ago at age 34, and have eaten healthy all my life, or so I thought until I saw these 2 angels. Oh, cool. Thank you so much. I was eating lots of organic nuts and seeds, veggie stir fries cooked in lots of coconut oils, lots of salmon, no sodas, no juices, but ate 0 fruit because 1 apple would send my blood glucose to 400. But after 5 days on this plan, I can eat all fruits and lots of them, mainly mangoes and bananas daily with lots of amazing greens. And I've cut out all the nuts and salmon and coconut oil. For the first time, I have seen my best blood glucose numbers between 70 and 120 on average. In previous years, it had been as high as 200 to 400. Quite a blessing, and my doctor is going to be amazed on my next appointment at the 16th. My A1c was over 12 last time. Now I think it's going to be some crazy awesome number. Tim, this is awesome. I'm so happy to see this. This is fantastic. I'm going to give you a virtual high five right here, buddy.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Tim, that's going on Instagram. I got it recorded. So if you guys don't follow us on Instagram, check out @Mastering Diabetes. We publish all kinds of fun stuff and testimonials here and there. So thank you for sharing, Tim.
Okay, here's another question. This one comes from Michael. He says, Cyrus Robbie, I found you totally by. Oh no, we've already read that one. That's it. My bad. Okay. What other questions we got? Let's go straight to the chat box, maybe. See what's coming in.
I think we answered a lot of these, but I'll just answer one that I see. It says, how different from Esselstyn? So Dr. Esselstyn's program is pretty much in a perfect alignment with our program. Ours is probably a little bit different in the sense that we are much more fruit friendly. That makes us quite unique in all of the plant-based world, but particularly diabetes. But in general, it's very similar. But Dr. Esselstyn's program is amazing. It has been shown to reverse heart disease. So we love Dr. Esselstyn.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. One thing that Robbie said, which I think is very important. We are, without question, the most fruit-friendly diabetes program on the planet. But we are also, correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, we are the most fruit-friendly program in the plant-based world as well.
I think that's 100% true.
Okay.
And I mean, look, at the end of the day, it just comes from our personal experience. I mean, as two people who, we have this blessing of living with type 1 diabetes, we have this opportunity to know exactly how much insulin we inject. We calculate our carbohydrate consumption, and we see our blood glucose on a regular basis. Those three pieces of data have shown us in our own body, and then we see it in others, that whole fruit with all the fiber and all the nutrients is fantastic for your blood glucose control. Whole fruit.
And in fact, I would almost argue that people who eat more fruit end up with better blood glucose control. I see that every single day in my blood glucose control. When I'm eating the most fruit, I have the best control. And when I start to put in other low-fat, plant-based whole foods that happen to just be cooked, like potatoes or beans or rice, then my blood glucose control actually gets worse. But, there are still green light foods. It's just that, this idea that fruit is equal to sugar and that's bad for diabetes and it's going to make you fat and it's going to raise your cholesterol. This information never was true to begin with. And our experience, just like Robbie's saying, is, quite the contrary.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we see consistently maximum insulin sensitivity with people who eat more fruit. So we see that with people living with type 1 diabetes, again, because we have the data. They're calculating their carbohydrate to insulin ratio, and it's consistent. So, yeah.
That's right. Gina asked another question. She says, how do you guys decide which coach a new member is going to get? Gina, I got some good news for you. You don't get one coach. You get all of the coaches together. Okay? We've set up our system such that when you come into the program, you are coached by the entire team of us. At times, you will be receiving coaching from Robbie and I. At times, you will be receiving coaching from Kylie. At times, you will be receiving coaching from Adam. At times, you will be receiving coaching from Mark. And that's the beauty of it, is that we all have a slightly different personal experience that we can add to help you out, rather than having only one coach focused on you. And so whether that comes through the Facebook group or whether that comes through Q&A video conferencing, you get the whole team, and I think that's part of the strength.
And that's part, we communicate. So somebody might ask a question, and one coach sees it and is like, oh, hey, wait a minute. I know that the best person to answer this question is Adam or is Cyrus. And then they talk to them. So you're always going to get the best answer from the appropriate person. And, I don't want to brag too much, but we're blessed. We're lucky to be connected with so many of the leaders in this plant-based world. And when we have a question, or we want to, something's going on, we can ask them. We can be like, wait a minute, what do you think about this case? And we can connect you with the right doctors in a lot of situations. So we're really confident about our program and feel equipped to really help people on all fronts and really take control of their diabetes health.
Yeah. It's funny. Sometimes we'll run across these somewhat challenging situations where, somebody posts in the Facebook group that, gives us a long detailed history of exactly what they're doing, what's working or what's not working. And it can be a relatively challenging situation. In some situations, we will literally get on our phone and we will text message someone like Dr. Joel Kahn, or we'll text message Dr. Robert Osfeld or Michelle McMacken. These are all very good friends of ours, and we'll be like, hey, what would you do in this situation? And we can get some responses from them, from other plant-based experts. And so it's a really fun game. But my point is that we're here to help, and we're here to be your coaches, and we also have the support of other leaders in the plant-based field. So we try and solve every single problem as best as we can.
Absolutely. I think there's one new question added from Richard Cyrus on the document.
Oh yeah, cool. Let me check. I have been on this diet for about 6 weeks now, and my triglycerides is still at 247, and my total cholesterol went from 123 to 190. This after I stopped taking 20 milligrams of atorvastatin, which is a statin medication. However, my A1c went from 7.5 to 6.1. So for cholesterol, how long will it take to get this down? Okay, Richard, phenomenal question. Very good question. It turns out that your cholesterol is a very changeable number. So in the same way that your cholesterol increased from 123 to 190, it sounds like it, in a short period of time, in 6 weeks. In the same way that your cholesterol increased rapidly in a 6-week period, it can also decrease rapidly in a 6-week period, because much like glucose, cholesterol is a very changeable quantity, and that's a good thing for you. So there's a lot of things that are changing right now. It sounds like you migrated towards a more plant-based diet, and then you pulled atorvastatin out of the way, and that's the thing that's most likely contributing to this rise in your cholesterol value. What we see over and over and over again, and what the evidence-based research is consistently showing, is that when you eliminate cholesterol from your diet, okay, 100% elimination of cholesterol from your diet, that is the most powerful thing that you can do to drop your cholesterol level. And cholesterol is only found in animal foods. It's only found in meat, in fish, in dairy products, in eggs, in bacon, in processed meat, you name it. If it comes from a plant, it doesn't have cholesterol. So the first question I got to ask you is, have you completely eliminated cholesterol from your diet? Because if not, that's where I would start. Secondarily, the second most powerful thing that you can do to drop your cholesterol level is to reduce your saturated fat intake. Because the more saturated fat you consume, the higher your cholesterol level goes. I'm not going to get into the biology of that right now, but suffice it to say, the more saturated fat you eat, the higher your cholesterol. So again, when you're eating a more plant-based diet and you're eliminating things like coconuts and olive oil from your diet, that can have a dramatic effect on your cholesterol level, okay? So if you were to do those two things, and just those two things, what you would likely see is that over the course of the next month to 2 months, your cholesterol level is going to come down, and it's going to come down real quick. And if for whatever reason it's still not doing that, then another thing that I would do is I would add I would consider taking an AMLA supplement. Okay, you can either get it off of Amazon, or you can purchase the tea that we make. It's called AMLA Green. Either way, it's totally up to you. AMLA is the most powerful cholesterol-reducing food ever discovered. It's an Indian gooseberry, and it is tremendously powerful. So if you throw that into the regimen, in addition to the changes that I just suggested, I think your cholesterol can come down, and it can come down within the next 1 to 2 months, no question.
Perfect. I know there's lots of great questions coming in the chat box, but I know Kylie and Jose are all over it answering questions. So do you want to just keep going and talking more, Cyrus?
Okay, why don't we do this? We'll go. I know people are got to get to bed. It's already 10 o'clock East Coast. Yeah. Okay. Why don't we do this? Let's end it here. For those of you that are still with us, there's 218 of you guys that are still with us. My hat's off to you. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your questions. This is why we do this. We love interacting with you guys. Like Robbie was saying earlier, if you want to join the coaching program, there's no pressure to do it at all. If you feel like you want to do this by yourself, totally fine. If you want guidance, you want support, you want the how-to, you want a step-by-step method, you want to maximize your chances of reversing insulin resistance and getting your best A1c and eliminating your chronic disease risk, That's what the Mastering Diabetes program does. That's what we guarantee. So if you are in a position right now where you're sick of dealing with diabetes, you're sick of high blood glucose, you're sick of being overweight, you're sick of not having a lot of energy, you're sick of having digestive problems, you're sick of having mental fog, you're sick of not being able to exercise properly, you're sick of not being able to hang out with your kids and move your body effectively, you're sick of having fatty liver, you're sick of having chronic kidney disease, you're sick of your eyesight not, you're having retinopathy, okay, you're sick of having nerve damage, peripheral neuropathy, nerve tingling in your hands and your feet. If you're sick of any of those things, okay, the Mastering Diabetes program is something that I think is highly likely to benefit you. Yeah. The last thing I will say is that right now this price of $249 is the lowest it will ever be. We are raising the price. The price will go up by 35%. It is going up to $399 starting on Tuesday at midnight. So if you want to get involved, this is your opportunity to get involved for the lowest price. Once you lock yourself in at this price, for all future years, you will be locked in at this $249 price. You're not going to end up paying more for an annual membership in the future. If you decide to purchase this on Wednesday or anything in the future, it will be $399 this year and beyond in future years. So if you're really interested in getting signed up, I highly recommend doing it now. You can save a lot of money. And to be perfectly honest, you can save a lot more money by not going to the doctor as much. A lot more money by not being in the hospital. I really mean it.
It's hard to put a dollar value on feeling amazing again, feeling younger, playing with your kids, like you said, Cyrus. And I saw a lot of people saying in the chat box they've joined. That's amazing. We cannot wait to work with you. It's going to be fun.
Yes, we love it. So thank you so much for being here. We hope you have a great night. We're going to send out an email with a replay. Hopefully you can watch that. Send it to your friends. Spread it. Spread the word. Okay? We love you guys. Thank you for being here, and we will catch you next time.
Bye, everybody.
Peace.